So as our in last video we talked about strings. Now all of our basic things are done, and now we are going to see some built-in common built-in functions. So first function we are going to see is len, then enumerate. We have already talked about len function multiple times. What does it do? It returns the length of the object you have, such as string, a list, tuple, dictionary, set. It returns the length of that object. And now the second function we have is enumerate. What it do? So if we talk about this, so far when we loop through a list, we only get the value or the index at one particular time. You don't have both of those values at one single time. You have to calculate one with the help of other. Like for example, if you have value, then you can use get index function to get the index, and if you have index, you have to use the indexing such like this to get the value. But you don't have both of those things at one certain time. But enumerate fix that thing by giving you both at the same time without needing to check manually track with a counter. So how you can do it? So let me just first make an array, this a list. Let's just take this fruit list with the name of fruits. So how does enumerate works? For index, you can take any variable name here, enumerate l, then we are going to print index value. Let's just also put a space, a colon between those. So now let's just see if it works. Python 3 build.py. Now you can see we got apple with a value 0, banana with a value 2, and cherry with a value 2. So what does it means? If you see, these values are the index value of apple, and apple, banana, and cherry. So what does enumerate do? You have to take two variables here. What it do is it give the index value to the first one and the value of element to the second one. Maybe you think that this thing isn't that much helpful, but you will uh, realize while doing DSA questions with Python that you need this thing multiple times. So now with the output you can clearly see that you don't need a separate counter variable here which will store the value of other entity. Without enumerate, the old way, you for if I show you how you have to do that, let's just take for I in, either you have to go with range and len function, then print I semicolon l I. So here if you see, I have to take the value with the indexing, with the help of indexing. And if I want to do with, like for example, let me do in another way. For I in l, uh, for I in l, print I, not I, l dot index I Let's just also put semicolon here and then I. So let's run the file again. uh, Now here you can see we got the same output. We use three ways to get the very same output. If you see here, then this one, and then this one. So that's how. So either you have to use this or this if you are not using enumerate. So you have to use index function or indexing. You can also for so that's why you should use enumerate instead of normal range function when you need both of the values at the same time. There is also another thing, and that is, for example, maybe by default it will just give the index values to these. If you see here, every single element got a value in front of it, and simply it's just the index value. But you can also change it. You can set values customly, which is like maybe we want to start from 1 2, or maybe we want to start from 100. So we can even do that as well. And enumerate also works in string, not only in list or tuple. It also work in string as well. First we will see let's how we can give it a custom value. So we already have a list. Let's just do with this one. So put comma start equals to 1. From whatever value you wants to start, just put that value with start keyword and it will automatically do it. Let's run it. Now you can see values are starting from 1 instead of 0. Let's just try to run it from 100. So now you can see we are getting values from 100, 101, 102. So you can also start however as you want. But now we will see working of enumerate with the help of strings. So for I, let's just take index and value in enumerate, and let's just take a string A B C D E F G H. This is our string, and now we are going to print both of these values. So now you can see it works perfectly fine with a string. So you can use it with a string, you can use enumerate with a string, list, tuple, dictionary, anything you want. You can easily use enumerator with it. So now we all know about enumerate. Let's put all of these into practice. I'm going to show you some questions, 4 to 5 questions. Take your time, do those questions. I hope all of you are done with the questions of enumerate. Now I'm also going to show you the answer key for those questions. But now let's just move a bit ahead. Now we're going to talk about zip. What does zip functions do? After zip, we are also going to talk about map, filter, any, and all, and there are some other functions as well we are going to see. So now I'm going to show you the answer key for those questions. Hope you all are done with the questions. Now let's just move to the next topic of our video, which is zip function. So what does zip function do when you need it? For this, think like sometime you have two or more lists where when they contain kind of a related data. For example, if there is a list that contains name and there is a list which contains age, so the person on the first zeroth index have its age in another list on the zeroth index. So how you can deal in that situation? So you can either go with the loops, but there is also an easier way to do it, and which is zip, which is an inbuilt function. And you can understand by zip for like you make you have a list, then you make another list which will be used to count the frequency of the elements in that list. In that case, zip can be useful. So let's just see how it does. Let's just see the syntax. So for example, let's take here. Now you can see there are two lists which are name and age. So Alice age 20, Bob 25, Charlie 30. So how we can easily access these things? So for example, we are taking names and the second variable ages in zip name comma age. Wait a minute. Let me just increase the size a little bit. Yep. So name comma age. Now print names age, or let's just write is. That's seems like a much better way to do it. Let me just paste out these things. So all the code you are seeing right now, I will just push all of these to GitHub, and I will put a repo link in description. You can check it later. So now let's just run this command. So now you can see we had our data in two lists. With just one simple line, we combined the data from those two lists. So now you can see that zip pairs up the first element of each list, then second, then third, matching them with the by the position. So you can also zip more than two arrays. For example, let's just take address, another address, like the three suggested address. Let's just take them. So now we can even zip more than we can even take more than. So I just print these dashes to create a to easily see which output is from which loop. So for name comma ages comma address in zip comma name comma age comma address print. Let's just copy this statement and lives at. So let's just run it now. Now you can see we got our output which contains data from three lists. And if you try to do it in others by some other ways, you need to write way more code. But here you with just one line we combined the data from all the list You can combine, you can add more list here. Let's just, so you can even add more list here. And there is one more thing, you can even um, convert, you can also convert these lists to a list of tuples. So let's just see how we can do that. We already have name, ages and address, so we are going to make list tuples of containing all of these three things for each person. So let's just make one thing, let's just name our list pair equals to, let me just correct the alignment. Okay, now list zip, now a name comma age comma address. That's how you come. So let's just run it again. Now you can see we have a list which contains tuple. Each tuple contains the detail of one person. From these three lists we got this result. As you can see, Alice, age 20, lives at 123 Main Street. So now each tuple contains complete detail about one person. So zip is pretty helpful when you have to, when your data is spread across multiple lists and you want to combine it. Zip will be the easiest way to do it. So zip on its own returns a special object. If you want, you can store it, the result, or wrap it in list or some other object as well. But what, there should be one question, like here we had uh, we had these three lists and length of all of these lists was same. But what will happen if I take a list with different length? Will anything change or not? So that's the question. So let's just comment these things out, and now we will see. uh, Let me just take these three lists again. Now what will happen if length is not same? So for example, let's just take like this. We are not taking age of Charlie, and now we are going to print. So let's just take these two lines. So what should be the result as per you? So now here you can see we even though the name list had three elements, we only, at the output side we only got two. Why? Because Charlie is not there and zip cannot match Charlie. When zip is matching by position, uh, zip tries to find index 2 in this list, but index 2 does not exist. Index 2 exists in this list but not in age. So what does uh, zip do? It stops before the Charlie even comes in. uh, so zip always check for the shortest, uh, I would say it always check for the shortest list. As soon as the shortest list finishes, zip stop working. So here the shortest list is this one. As soon as it ran out of elements, zip stop working. Now you can also use zip to build a dictionary. How we can build a dictionary? Let's just see. We already have name and age. Let me just put age back. Now we know what will happen if length is not same. But how we can make a dictionary? Just in the above line I told you that zip returns a special object, and you can wrap that object in any other object you want, such as list. Now you can also do same with the dictionary part. So now we only want name and age. If you want to make a nested list, like we have three list here, and if we want to make a nested dictionary, you can also do you use zip here again with age and address. But because we are only taking age and address right now, so we are not going to use zip again inside a zip. So now let's just print it out. There is a print t. Now you can see we have a dictionary as well. So as I told you earlier, that you can easily make, if you have list like one list contains the element, another list contains the frequency, in that case a zip can be very helpful for you to easily convert those two things into a dictionary. uh, this is a really this is a really handy pattern, turning two related list directly into dictionary. Now let's just put this into practice. Here I will show you 5 questions for dictionary, sorry, for zip. If you think you can't do those questions right now, you can just skip 6-7 minutes, and after that I will show you the answer key for those questions. Hope you all are done with the questions till now. So let so now I will show you the answer key for those questions. So now we are done with zip and len enumerate. Now we are also going to see the map function. So what does map do, where we can use it, what functionality it provides to us, we are going to see in a bit. But let me just first show you the answer key for the questions. So now we are going to see map function, as we have already done zip and enumerate. We have also done the questions on those two, and I also showed you this uh, answer key for these. So let's just move to map part. So what is map? If I have to define it, for definition you can think it like sometimes you need to apply the same change to every single element in that list, like doubling the number or doing square, convert, changing symbol. So you have to write a loop for that each time you want to do it, but with the help of map you can do that with one single line. You don't need to uh, make a loop every single time. So first we are going to see the basic syntax. For example, take a list called we already have a list in name ages, so we will use this one. Let me just comment these two out as well. So basic syntax, for example, square, list, map, lambda, x. What does x return? X returns 2 in the list ages, sorry, age. Now let's print square to show you that it works. So now you can see we have square of the elements of the list, age. So now what does map do? To map you have to give two things. First, what is the operation you want to apply to all of the elements in that list. You can also do things like you can also write a data type here to come to convert the user input. For example, let me just show you how we can do that. For example, take map int input dot split. So if user is giving numbers but as string, so what it will do, input will take all the numbers, split will split them, and map will convert all of those values into int, and then you can directly put it inside a list. So if user is giving values such like 1 2 3 4 5, by writing this one line you can convert those into a dictionary like this one. Oh sorry, here I just wrote every single one as string, but actually they are not going to be string, they are just going to be integers, because we use the integer function here. So the two things you have to give to the map function: first, what you want to do to the each element, and then the value of those elements. So that's you have to give to the map function. So now our square function works. We are writing lambda here, but you can just, if you want to use, let me just put it. Now you can also write d here, like as you can see, same result. So if I have to put a map into a definition, map takes two things: a function and an iterable. It applies the function to every single element and returns a map object, and then you can wrap it in list to see the result. You can also use a name function. For example, let me just write let's just write a factorial function. If n is equals to 0 or n equals to 1, return 1, else so that's a name function. And now we going to see, let's just make another array. Let's just make one with num and put values from 3 4 5 and 6. Remove this print statement so they don't print it out again. So let's just see the output. Here you can see we got the factorial values of all these numbers in the list num. So what does map do? Map takes the function factorial, then takes each element from the num, and then pass each element in the factorial part, store all of these value in a map object, then we are wrapping it in a list object, so that map object turns into a list object, and then we can easily see the result with the print statement. You can use map on string as well. For example, you have a list of strings and you want to do upper, you can do dot lower as well, or perform all of these string operations such as dot capital, dot capitalize, all of those operations on with the help of map function. Now you can also use map with multiple lists. So now we are going to see how we can use map function on multiple lists. For example, let's just take list 1 equals to random numbers, list 2 random numbers. So what we can do, let's just take some list map. Let me make a mistake here. Lambda x comma y plus x comma x plus y, then values are coming from list 1 and list 2. Now just print it. So now you can see we got the sum of these two lists just in a third list with just using one line. As we have talked earlier, you can also use a name function here, so you can use as complex as function you want on any list, and you can apply it to every single element just with the map function. So if to put it this line into words, now you can even pass two lists in a map that apply a function pairwise, just like zip uh, just like zip would line them up. Now let's also put our map learning into practice. I'm going to show you some questions again. Give some time to those questions. If you think those questions are a little bit hard for you right now, just skip for next 5 to 6 minutes. After that, I am going to show you the answer key. Oh, So now I think all of you are done with the questions now. So let me just show you the answer key. And we are also going to talk about one more thing, which is filter. What does it do, how we can use it, what functionality it provide, and what work of our become easy by using filter. So we are going to see it in a bit. Let me just show you the answer key for the map question first. hope you all are done with the map questions. Now we have to move to the filter. What does filter do? What functionality it provides to us? How we can use it? But let's just see what we have done so far. We have done enumerate. We learn how it uh, combine values, sorry, how it gave us index and value at the same time. Then we talked about zip, how zip we can combine two and more list into one and access the data from both of those at a single time. How we can convert a zip into a list into a dictionary, how we can create a dictionary of tuples with the help of zip. Then we also talked about the map function, how we can use it, how we can use map function on one list and more than one list. So now it's time for filter. So how, while map function transform every element, filter does a little bit different from it. This function also goes through the complete list, but it only keep the element that pass a certain criteria. For example, filter, you can think, for map you can think like a map was a for loop that applies a certain operation. For filter, filter is a for loop with some if else conditions. So if that element passes that certain criteria, only then filter is going to keep that element, otherwise it will remove it. So let's just see the basic syntax first. Let's just take a list, random numbers, then we are going to see, let me just make, now we are going to filter out the even number from this list. How we can do that? You can, filtering out even number is very easy, and if you want to put those filter out numbers into another list, what you have to do, create a for loop. You have to create a for loop, then a if condition, then append the value into another list. Here we are calling that list even. So that's what you have to do. First a for loop, then if condition, then append the value. But here we are going to see how we can do that in easiest possible way. It will only take one line. So for example, list filter lambda. No, let's not write lambda, let's just call a even function, even underscore check, we are calling it, then num. So let's just make a function even underscore check comma n, sorry, now return n 0. You can also write a lambda function, but I am going to write a name function because it looks much cleaner as compared to a lambda function, and it would be easy for everyone to understand. So let's just print our list even. So as you can see, this list only contains the even values, and from where this list came from, this list even is just a subset of this list num. And how we filter it out? We filter out using the filter function. We can also make an odd list just like this. If you now see, we have an odd list. Otherwise, if you are not using filter, what would be the easiest way to do it? It would be for I in num if I is divisible by 2, then even dot append. So that's what you have to write if you are not using filter. I think currently I'm showing you a very easy condition to apply on this list. You can write as complex as you want to write here. So let's just, we have seen a name function. We can also use this thing or for filtering out. strings. How we can use it on strings? For example, let's just take an arrays and give it some random. Let me just also increase the length of some things for. So now we are going to filter out using lambda x if len of x is greater than 3, apply it on s. You can currently I'm writing, wait a minute, just oh. Currently I'm writing for len only. You can also write is you can also check for the uppercase or lowercase. You can also check for the alphabet or numerical digits or alphanumerical values or special characters as well as you want. You can filter out anything. Now there is also one another important thing, and that will be filtering out empty list or empty values or false values. So how we can do that? For example, take we have a list called v. Here this thing is empty, this space is completely empty, so we are going to filter it out. I am also writing none, and then also just take false as well. So if you see this thing, as you can see here, none, we have a none, we also have an empty string, we have false value as well. So we are going to filter out all of these just by one line. Let me write that clean. So list with filter none comma v. If you print clean now, let's just see the output. Now you can see filter removed all of the values which are empty, false or none from this list, and we are getting a clean values out of that. It could be helpful when you are storing some type of user input data in a dictionary, in a list, and you don't have any control over what input user can give. So at that point of time you would need filter function. For a quick trick, if you pass none instead of a function, filter will automatically remove anything falsy for 0, for empty string, for false, for none. And if we have to do a quick comparison between map versus for filter, then how we can say is that map changes every item and filter removes item that does not match a certain condition. So now you know about filter as well. So let's just put your learning to test. I'm going to show you some questions, give those questions sometimes, and if you take a look at those questions, if you think you can't do those questions right now, just skip the video for 5 to 7 minutes, and after that we will talk about the answers of those questions. I hope all of you are done with the questions. Now I am going to show you the answer of for the filter questions as well. But there is something you have to remember. We have talked about multiple things till now. We have talked about enumerate, we talked about map, we talked about zip, we talked about filter. So let's just remember one thing, all of these things we have talked about yet. For example, dictionary, error, file, function, if else, list, loop, main, search, tuple, they all goes hand in hand. For example, first we learn about strings, then we learned how we can use if else statement if we want to filter out any value from that string. Then we learn how we can store that list strings. We learn about list and tuples. Then we learn how we can search a particular value in those objects such as list and tuple. We learn about search algorithms where we talked about binary and linear searches. Then we talked about dictionary. Then if what happen if something goes wrong in our code, what we can do. So we also talked about error handling as well. Then we also talked about file handling, like if we have to take those strings from another file, then how we can take those strings, how we can read that data, how we can access that data and iterate through it and edit that data. So we also talked about file handling. After that, we are now done with the common built-in methods as well. There are two more, like any and all. They are pretty easy. For example, you are writing any, then put a condition from a list where it will get multiple inputs. If it happens, any will take any number from that. If you write all will take all of the values. That's all. It's very easy. So now I'm going to show you how you can read about Python more. For example, let's just, so now you have to search for Python docs. Not for Python documentation. So now here are the Python documentation, and you can read more about the Python functions here. So here you will read things, you can easily read things about Python. We are going with the built-in functions. Let's go with the built-in functions. So as you can see, we have absolute, alter, all, a, next, any, sky, bin, boolean, breakpoint, voids, char, class method, complex, compile, and so many others. You can learn about those. If you want to learn about any one of those, let's just take one. For example, let's just take frozen set. So now you can learn about frozen set. Here is here is the class frozen set. What you can do with it, how you have to use it, you can. Now we are going to learn about frozen set. So here is what is a frozen set, how you can use it, how you can take benefits of this function, what functionality it provides, how it makes certain work of your easy. That's how you can read about. So now we are done with all of our Python basics. Now we are done with all of our Python fundamentals. I hope you have gained some value from these videos. So let's just end this one as well.